Well, hello everybody. Thank you for joining us at the Wed Bridal show this year. Palettera is very proud to be the sponsoring designer of all the materials that you're holding in your hands, and I hope that you're enjoying it. Again, my name is Deb, and I'm the owner of Palettera Custom Correspondences. We're a graphic design studio that specializes in private events and functions, and we're located just up the street at Kennedy and Carlton. And today I'm going to talk to you briefly about the legend of the wedding invitation. Not only will I brief you on the wedding invitation design in terms of excellence in design, but I will also speak a bit about budgeting, as well as the history of letterpress printing. So every legendary party begins with a fabulous invitation. For instance, this is an invitation designed by Mark Friedland, known as the Prince of Paper in the USA, by Creative Intelligence. This is an invitation that he designed for Entertainment Tonight for the Emmy Awards, and it features a really beautiful black damask laser cut page with foil detailing. This is an invitation that I designed for Farah Nazar. She is the anchor at CP24 and formerly at City TV. It is a hardcover folio that features silver foil detailing, and also her cultural motif is custom printed onto the cover. By the way, this is photographed by the infamous Claudia Hung. This invitation here is designed by Creative Intelligence again, and it is for the Cirque du Soleil Love Gala, which features a beautiful custom vibrant folio and a vinyl record with a custom label. By CC New York, Sean Diddy Combs, Puff Daddy, and the White Party. Every year he throws a charity event, and this was a hardcover folio with foil press detail. And this is an invitation for Hong Kong superstar Hakin Lee, Lei Hakan. When he got married, he presented a vintage cassette tape with a custom label that played music, his favorite songs with him and his wife, in a custom velvet folio with foil detailing. This here is a judging invitation to the Miss Hong Kong pageant, and it was an invitation for Miss Bernice Liu to be a judge. It features again a custom folio with custom die cutting. As well, I think there is a pop-up of an image on the side. And more recently, in 2009, Miriam Young, again a Hong Kong superstar, Yang Qinhua, when she got married, she had a very, very custom folio that had her initial on the cover. And then when you actually open the card, it had a three-dimensional welcome symbol that handed her invitation card to you. And lastly, this is one that we designed. I designed this for Dr. Ashley Chow and Dr. Jay Geddes. It's always nice to have some local examples, and this couple got married at Angus Glen in 2010. And this is actually their menu. So each table had one of these hardcover menus, and you see the tone-on-tone printing. That is all the guests' names that attended the wedding so that they could keep it if they wanted to. It featured 28 Swarovski crystals and gold foil press detailing. And it was also the winner of the 2010 Wetluck Stationery Design Award. Now, moving away from your wedding for a little bit, I want to talk a bit about letterpress printing. I didn't realize there's people behind me here. Maybe I should stand over here. Letterpress printing goes back to the 1440s, developed by Gutenberg in Germany. It is something that letterpress printing is really, this is the next page. See these little type blocks on the left side of the screen? These little type blocks are each individual letter carved into metal pieces, which are then custom typeset into these lines that are then inked and then pressed onto paper. This creates a crevice, which is called letterpress printing. And this was used, it's called movable type, and it was used back in the Chinese dynasties. And it also allowed us to print our very first printed page in humanity. And the very first printed book was the Bible, and printed in Gutenberg. There's a lovely quote by George Christophe Lindbergh, and it says, "More than gold, lead has changed the world, and more than lead in the gun, the lead in the printer's typecase." I think that oftentimes we forget that we are situated within a greater context of history. And sometimes the things around us that we quickly toss out, that are printed material, was affected by this very part of history. So who really cares? What is the larger context of this wedding invitation, this piece of stationery beyond your wedding? Well, not only beyond your wedding, but even within your wedding. I want to direct your attention to 3 components that you should be looking for when choosing your wedding invitation. First of all is the type of printing. Later on, if you have a chance to go near our booth at 301, which is just kind of directly across from the engagement shoot booth, you personally can touch letterpress invitations that we have on hand. And the beauty of a tactile piece of printed material, and the crevices and irregularities, and just the beauty of something pressed into cotton paper is just undeniably more beautiful than anything that's digital or flat printed. It's nothing that compares even to the pieces of paper that you have in your hand. So I really encourage you to go over to our booth and feel letterpress printing for yourself. Right? Nextly is graphic design. So what is graphic design? I think that in a world that's highly digital, we often take for granted what design really means. Graphic design isn't just about what the newest trends are, or what looks pretty on a page, or merely what is aesthetic. Graphic design is taking your reality, your story, what's meaningful to you, and placing it on a page such that the audience or your guests actually understand. It should be something meaningful, emotional, tangible, something so strong and so powerful that it really allows you to represent your event, and it's not something that in passing is just a trend. And oftentimes, to be very honest, things are smashed together on a page and poorly put together, such to the point where we don't really know what good graphic design is. So I really urge you to find a designer who knows how to utilize compositional space and really tell your story and translate it onto paper. And lastly, the third component is craftsmanship. You can have awesome letterpress printed paper and you can have a really nice design, but if it's poorly executed, if it's poorly put together, not trimmed properly, is not precise, then really it's gone to waste. So I also want to encourage you to pay attention to whether or not something is accurately cut, it's precise, it's clean, it's well chosen in its material, and it's adhesive. These are all important components because people will actually be keeping these pieces and looking at them very closely. And nextly, the big word, budget. I think that budgeting is something that I think brides and grooms often fear, because a wedding is quite an overwhelming process. You do invest a lot of your emotional and financial resources into making this happen. So I want to make this a little more friendly and a little more helpful for you as you plan your wedding or even your future events. Oftentimes you choose a really beautiful venue, just like the Markham Event Center. This is the foyer. You invest in gorgeous florals that you spend a lot of money on to make perfect. They're heirloom, they're dreamy, just as you always pictured it. You spend time setting the table so it's just right with place cards and favors and linens. Now, if you have such a beautiful wedding, why wouldn't you choose an invitation that appropriately represents it? You wouldn't give your friend a dress that you bought for her from BCBG in a Susie Shear bag. And you wouldn't serve your dad's most precious wine in a paper cup. Nor would you present your fiancé with a Tiffany ring in a Canada Post mailing box or a cardboard box. Unless, of course, if you're trying to surprise her. So So then why would you represent a wedding which per plate the charge is probably anywhere between $75 to $250 per head with an invitation that really doesn't represent that? For instance, on Google, if you Google Chinese wedding invitation, you might get something like this, a typical $3 Chinese invitation. And you receive it, you think, oh, you know, they're probably having it at some cheesy venue, it's probably an overseas card, not so nice for our generation. Or even if you move up the scale a little bit. Typical $5 Chinese invitation, again, on Google. You know, someone just happened to smash the Songhei, the double happiness in there, find some clip art, and yeah, it has a location, but again, another wedding in your life that you have to waste a couple hours on. Nothing really that exciting. When you get there, oh crap! Graydon Hall Manor? What was this about? The invitation didn't say that. The invitation was so cheesy. I didn't know we were having the wedding at Graydon Hall Manor. Oh my goodness, like the check that you wrote totally doesn't suffice. And what do you have? A very, very embarrassed guest and a very disappointed host. Because your per plate charge, plus the open bar and your favors, probably added up to about $125 or $250 per couple. And the actual gift you received from Uncle Harry and Auntie Rita was probably about, okay, $150 for two people. And the actual gift you received from possible millionaire, but she never likes to tell you, Aunt Betty and her family of 4, she brought 4 people with her, was a set of Mikasa crystal wine flutes. Useless because you already have Tiffany ones, and the retail value, $70 at the outlet mall across the border. But had you given them a Palettera invitation, a boxed invitation that's completely elegant, and mind you it was $15, but divided by a family of 4, it's only about $250 a person, they would think, oh my goodness, look at this invitation, it's lovely, like, you must have a lovely wedding. They automatically think of the best things about you, you know, all the times you've been gracious, all the times you've been generous, and probably think you're gonna have a really great wedding. And chances are, probably write you an appropriate check. And what do you have? Your per plate charge never changed. It's at $125 or $250 per couple. And the actual gift you receive now from Uncle Harry and Aunt Rita, because they have the right representation of your wedding, is $300 for 2 people. And the actual gift from possible millionaire Aunt Betty and her family of 4, but she did not bring her kids this time, was $250 for 2 people. And what do you have? You have happily ever after, your friendship and relationship is confirmed, nobody is embarrassed, and everyone is just happy and giving hugs. It's a real wedding. So let me give you, for those who are more interested in number crunching, the analysis. So let's say for a total wedding, it costed about $40,000, which is pretty realistic these days. And a guest list of 200 people, you probably need about 120 invitations. You have some family, you have some singles. Your invitation budget, let's say, was originally at $5. So it cost you $600. And the guest gifts, well, you know what, they wanted to kind of give you 100, but they felt, you know what, if this is their invitation, I think $80 will suffice. So they ended up writing you a gift for $80, and you got $16,000 in gifts. Well, the net cost for your wedding was about $24,000. But if you went with a custom designed invitation, which is actually, you know, both booths today at the show, the wedding cost is still at $40,000, same guest list, invitation budget, let's say it was $15, you spend 1,800 in invitations. But the impression was correct, and each person decided, you know what, I'm going to give them the $150 that they deserve. And they end up giving you a total of 150 times 200 people. That's $30,000. So the net cost of your wedding, only $10,000. To throw a great party, what a deal. You gained $14,000 by investing an additional $1,200 only, and your return on investment, your ROI, is 1,000%, 10 times. And now let's say you went all out. You're throwing a $60,000 wedding. You know, you've got a guest list now of 400 people, which is actually quite common for Asian weddings. So you need about 300 invitations. Let's say invitation budget is still at $5, you know, the cheesy, you know, someone just smashed double happiness on there. basic invitation. Right? Your gift's $80, it totals about $32,000. Well, guess what? Your $60,000 wedding, after gifts, you still spent $28,000 on your wedding. But again, if you went with a custom designed invitation route, the actual cost of the wedding is 60 grand. The guest list remains the same. And you spent $15 in invitations. So your invitations, let's say, costed $4,500. Your guest gift, again, very reasonable, nothing changed, $150 per person. You end up with $60,000 in gifts. Well, guess what? You just got yourself a free wedding. That's awesome. You gained $28,000 by investing only $3,000. And the return on investment is 833%. I don't think any other bank can beat this deal at all. So I hope that today I've helped you understand the importance of, one, the design of the invitation and the passion behind the people who are representing your wedding and putting it onto paper for you. And also to help you budget and understand and appreciate the importance of that little piece of printed paper that every single auntie and uncle will end up keeping in their drawer, in their tin, and keep as a lifetime keepsake. So be excited, help your guests be excited, because they will be the moment they receive it. And I wish you a fabulous, fabulous wedding. Thank you very much.